Now, speaking of a chill life or not chill life, I wanted to talk to you about touring. And one of the items I did read about is that you did tour with the Stone Roses at one point for a limited time.
We supported the Stone Roses in Paris, and I was playing with Primal Scream at the time as well, and Primal Scream did two shows opening for the Stone Roses. So I did open for them three times, but with two different bands, yeah.
Any Stone Roses stories from touring or from?
Well, they were just really nice to us, because when we played them as a Little Barrie, they were doing a gig at the Cigale in Paris, which is a smallish theatre. It's a warm up for one of their biggest shows, and we got one of the supports one night. I think they did two nights there, and we got support for one of the nights. And I never thought I'd ever be opening for the Stone Roses because they were the reason that I was playing anyway. But I think it was because of Manny. I played with Manny, who was also in Primal Scream after the Stone Roses split first time. But yeah, they were really nice to us, and it was a great experience. They looked after us, and their crew were really cool. So yeah, it was an amazing moment. It was about 10 years ago, I think we did that.
What's it like, the atmosphere? Because I never seen them live. They did one North American date. I remember about 3 years back, 4 years back. They were supposed to play Madison Square Garden in New York City, and my timing did not allow at the end. Being a real estate lawyer, I was not able to get there at end of the month, beginning of the month, so I could not do the traveling over. And I've always wanted to see them live. What is the atmosphere like for the
Yeah,
crowd to be in a live
it,
Stone Roses concert?
it was amazing. I mean, I never saw them the first time around, but so I can only talk about the gigs when they've reformed. But the first time I saw them was when I played with Primal Scream, and we opened for them. They did three shows in Heaton Park, this big park in Manchester, and it was something like 55,000 people each night. And when they went on, literally, people weren't just singing the words; people were singing the guitar riffs and stuff like that. Yeah, it was electric atmosphere. It was incredible. But the gig in Cigale, because it was a small club, I guess might have felt a bit more like what it was like to see them when they were playing smaller venues at one point. But yeah, it was incredible. It
I
was
wish I wish more of the world could have seen them, and it
yeah.
just, and for anybody who hasn't heard their albums before, I would say grab the self-titled Stone Roses. If you ever thought you'd like rock music, that's definitely a good starter one. And I'm glad that it's interesting that that's like one of my favorite bands of all time, and turns out that was your biggest musical influence. So pretty
Yeah,
neat.
it was a massive record for not just me but a lot of my friends at the time, and through that record, and there was other bands around at the time like the Happy Mondays, also Primal Scream. Um, those records, that era was a sort of, yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe everyone who's that like 15 years old or 14 years old has bands like that have that impression on them. But it was a massive cultural thing. Just that record was everywhere. I remember when it came out, you just hear it everywhere.
People told me in the UK that that was literally like the feeling of the Beatles at the time when they had come out. Like they had such a big following that they were not for that time. I think it was late 80s, probably, maybe early
Yeah,
90s.
89 the record
Yeah.
came out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it did feel like a really positive time. I don't know if that's just because I was a teenager, and I was really getting into music, and I was getting to the point of leaving secondary school and maybe going to college or something. But it just felt like a positive time, a lot of musical discovery, and good hot summer, and yeah, it's just a good atmosphere, I think.
Now, aside the Stone Roses, you've toured the world. You've played with so many bands. Ones that stand out in your mind as far as bands, singers that you played with, you toured with, that were your faves?
Don't know. I've been lucky to work with a lot of good people, really. So it's hard to pick out any particular band, but I had a good time. I had an amazing time playing with the Primal Scream. Good, I've also worked with, yeah, Edwyn. I've worked in the studio with people like Paul Weller. It's been really good. I've been very lucky. I guess certain gigs stick in your mind, like playing the Royal Albert Hall with Matt Johnson. That was an incredible gig. I'll never forget. Sometimes you get those nights where, um, I don't know, there's something about it. I think I've said this before in interviews where sometimes you've got your head down and you're playing and you sort of concentrating on the music and you get lost in the music. So you don't really fully take a moment to realize where you are and what's going on. But occasionally you do get those moments in a gig where you have to say to yourself, man, you need to remember this because something really special is happening here. And I remember that gig with Matt at the Albert Hall. That definitely felt like that. And yeah, I've been lucky to have a few moments. I remember doing a gig in, I think it was in Sao Paulo with Primal Scream, where I don't know, the roof went off. It was just really exciting, you know. And we've had a few gigs like that with our own band. I mean, we went to Japan not long after the tsunami, the Fukushima disaster, and not many bands have been over for a while. And we played a small club in Osaka, and you know, the spirit in the audience. I think people have been through so much in Japan, and people just wanted to let their hair down and have a good time. That was quite moving. You know, the you could feel the spirit, and I don't know how to put it into words really, but it was, yeah, it was powerful, and it was kind of emotional really, and you could see that in people's faces as well. You know, people hadn't been able to go out much or go to gigs, and it'd been a horrific time for them as a country, and to go out and play then and talk to people about it was incredible really.
Barry, when you have a choice, like, are you more of a guy that likes to play in the clubs, small and intimate, or do you like the big stadiums, festivals, or both?
I like to be able to do. I'm lucky that I've been able to see either side of it, and the big gigs are incredible to say you've done them. I do think you can have more of an interaction with the audience when it's a smaller venue, and there's something that I really love about that. But to experience the big shows has been amazing. Like doing the Nebworth shows recently with Liam and stuff's been incredible, and that. But there's something about playing indoors for me, you know, because when it's contained, it's in a room. There's a ceiling, there's walls. It's different. The sound, you hear your own sound in a different way, and you hear the audience in a different way. And there's something. It feels more intense to me like that, rather than when it's outdoors.
Well,
And I like that.
I would tell people that want to get intimate with you. I really like your YouTube channel and the idea behind it. So you have the official Little Barrie on YouTube, and it's you essentially doing intimately, acoustically your guitar riffs, right?
Yeah, or sometimes I'm just working on things I've just written, or sometimes I make things up on the spot, you know, or a new idea, or play somebody else's song. I just started doing it during lockdown because there was no gigs, and I just started doing it for something to do, and then people got interested in it, and then you know, we started posting them up on YouTube after, because I started doing them on Instagram and then to YouTube. I started posting them up on there, and yeah, I've had quite a lot of good feedback from it really. And it just
It's
started out as a fun thing, you know.
I felt very close to you listening to it, and I just found it very, very interesting. And a lover of music, just to see that. And I would say for anybody that loves guitar, you really show the hands-on part of it, and that's pretty neat.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it's pretty crude, you know. I just do it in this room, and
Yeah.
it's not sophisticated. It's just recorded on a phone, and just sort of quick things, really. But it's nice because it's a way to explore maybe things you don't always do in your own records as well. Just play things you like, you know, or a style that you like, or a style you're trying to learn. You know, I wouldn't say the things I put up are particularly polished or refined. They're just little clips, you know. There's a lot of mistakes in them and stuff, really. But they're just sort of, yeah, short moments of things, really. But yeah, it's fun to do.
I think the raw stuff is the most fun personally. I like to see at that end of it.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
because it's real.
Yeah,
And
me too.